Guys, it's the Texan talking here. We have a special Sunday podcast and perhaps YouTube video. We don't know yet. We'll see how this turns out. I'm joined here by my one of my co-hosts today, Rios. Let him know what's up, Rios.
The better looking of the three co-hosts, but I think you guys
Yeah.
have established that already. But yeah,
No worries. So we mentioned in our Wednesday podcast that we're probably going to start recording Sundays after the Texans games because just to release our frustration or to praise them or whatever it is,
not this week.
depending on the game. Not this week. Well, I was actually pulling double duty today because I was actually at the Astros game today against the Angels. The Astros did beat the Angels, so that was good.
Yeah,
The
12-4.
Astros ended up beating 12-4. The thing that's kind of scary about that, they have a little pattern going on. Whenever the Astros win with 10 or more runs, that means the next series doesn't go too well or as expected.
Scoreless.
Yeah, they kind of go scoreless. So it's like they use all of their power to all of the offense to win this particular game. But nonetheless, Astros won. It was great. Bregman had a grand slam. We really had a great time. So that was it. At the same time as I was watching I was watching the Astros game. I was like I said, I was playing double duty, and I was watching the Texans
Or
on
you.
football TV. I
Or
know.
you.
Hey man, I just wanted to see how what they did. So let's start talking about the Texans really quick. Uh, we are only doing like a 30-minute podcast on Sundays here and there. So let's start it off because we're short on time. So what I saw today. Let's start off with the positive. Let's start off with the positive first, okay?
There's positives.
Uh, there is actually there is positives on that defense. That defense, if it wasn't for that defense, if it really wasn't for that defense, you would be looking at a much higher score by the Colts. I'm not gonna lie, the defense really kept us in the ball game today because if it wasn't for them, I still think that score would have probably been in the upper 40s while the Texans scored
Kind of all right.
barely
It would
anything.
have been a
Yeah,
blowout.
yeah, and I mean, obviously, Jonathan Taylor, he had himself a game. The Texans did. Texans defense did stop. He could have been much higher. To be honest, he could have been much higher if the defense wasn't this good.
Jesus,
So
I don't know. That's not saying much. He averaged 5 yards to
it's,
carry 160
he
yards on the
did.
ground.
He did.
Yeah,
He
so
did. You're right. He did. But honestly, even though I do like this Texans defense, and you and I had a big feeling that this defense was going to be the bright spot of the Texans, and we were kind of
yeah.
right based on this first game. What I still think that they're missing is definitely an edge rusher, somebody that can put pressure on that quarterback. I think if they're a lot. Don't get me. And this is Matt Ryan that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So I honestly believe that if we had a good edge rusher or somebody to give a little bit more pressure to Matt Ryan, we would have probably done a much better job defensively. Even though, don't get me wrong, the defense I think outshined definitely the offense today. If basically the offense today. So there was no way that the Texans could have won this game. I mean, we tied it, yes. There was no way the Texans could have even gotten this close if it wasn't for the defense. What do you think, Russ?
Yeah, no, definitely. So basically, the only touchdowns on offense were because of the defense. Well, defense and penalties. So the first one was a
Right.
big, pass interference play. It was like probably more yards than Mills threw as far as like the longest pass of the game, which got him in the red zone. And next play, was a touchdown to OJ Howard, which is great. Next touchdown, it was a turnover. I can't remember if Matt Ryan fumbled it or was it an interception, but Matt Ryan turned the ball over. We got it basically in the red zone, so Davis Mills didn't have to do too much. It was a 22-yard touchdown, also to OJ Howard, and I mean those are basically
Right.
our only touchdowns. Other than that, just two field goals, and yeah, honestly, this defense they were impressive. I mean, sure, Jonathan Taylor had a 5 yards to carry, 160 yards on the ground, and a touchdown. Pittman doing his best T.Y. Hilton impersonation, over 100
Of
plus yards
course.
receiving, but it kept him out of the end zone at least. But yeah, it was for the defense, man. We would have had 6 points, honestly. They're
Right.
only losing. They had those 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I agree with that. It's definitely the defense balled out today. The defense balled out today, and much praise should go to the defense for basically keeping the Texans in the game this week against the Colts, who obviously have a great defense themselves. However, even though Leonard was missing, so honestly, it could have been a lot worse if he was there as well.
It should have been worse. Mills
Yeah.
should have been sacked a lot more, but he was sacked once, but it was a costly sack and fumble because that basically got them back into the game, gave them momentum, and they tied it. And I mean, that was it. We couldn't score any points in the fourth or overtime, which is a good indication of this staff. I don't know what to say. Like, the words workhorse Burkhead should never be spoken, but he had 72% of the carries this game, and they didn't trust Mills to throw it on, in fourth quarter in crucial situations or overtime. It's like, yeah, this is a taste of things to come. Basically, like if it's crunch time, they're gonna go to Burkhead instead of Pierce, which is idiotic, and then they're gonna go to Mills throwing a check down or just hoping for a miracle on defense because man,
that was. I did see a lot of those checkdowns. I saw there was a few points, I think, in the fourth quarter, or I can't remember. I think I'm sorry, it was the last drive of overtime. There was Mills where he would panic and he would just those bad throws. I saw I can't remember who he was trying to throw to, but he had a really bad throw. It was on the game-winning drive.
It was several throws.
It was several throws that he. Yeah, in crunch time, and that's when I even tweeted out. Don't get me wrong, I'm like I mentioned this year. I'm optimistic for Mills. I want him to do well, but the thing is, after seeing his performance today, it kind of made me all right. It's making me realize, okay, definitely not the guy. Definitely, he's not the guy that you would go crunch time. Obviously proven today. Now I know that a lot of the Davis Mills truthers, like you call them, Rios, they're going to be saying, well, it's only one game. I understand it's only one game, but you're going against the Colts who
division rival.
Division rival and have a fantastic defense. And this is without Leonard on the field, which could have been a lot more of a heavier damage, to be honest with you.
And you're playing home.
If he was there. Yeah, and you're playing at home. So it's understandable that how do you call it? The Colts defense could have done a lot better, but they didn't today. As expected, they did what they had to do, and we ended up tying the game. They got they got the turnover. They got to Mills. They sacked him. Once they sacked Mills, that was over. Once they started getting to Mills, that was over. Like that was you had a big lead. You were like 3-7. Was it 3-20 right, at one point?
It was 7-3.
20, yeah, and
20-3.
20-3, and they came back in the fourth quarter. And so it started after that sack when Mills took that sack in the fourth quarter, and it was just. I don't know. This is why I want to put the case of why it's necessary to have a mobile quarterback. You need a mobile quarterback, and that's the perfect example. Mills just kind of stands there. Okay, I'll give you another example. There was a particular play where they had to get the first down, and I think it was like 4th and 1 or 4th and 3. I can't remember exactly. And they put Jeff Driscoll in there. 4th and 3, because they put Jeff Driscoll in. Guess what happened? It was Jeff Driscoll play. He got the first down. Great. They put him in. Why? Because Mills can't run the ball like that. So, yeah, definitely. That's why you need a mobile quarterback. And I know you're going to say, well, maybe when there's mobility needed, they're going to put Jeff Driscoll in. Okay, great. So now you become one-dimensional again, because you know that every time they put probably Driscoll in there,
they're going to run
the quarterback's they're going to run it with the quarterback. So the QB sneak or something like that. So that's what I'm saying. It's like they need to. I don't think Mills is a guy. After seeing this again, yes, it's just one game, but it now this is entering second year 2. You got to step that game up.
Game 12 already. Game 12.
You need to step up that game, and like I said, it's something that needs to be taken care of. I'm not a big. I just wasn't very happy with how Davis Mills played today. Now, I know the stats look, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns. It looks great on stats, but
That's
actually
I mean
watching the game,
that's not good on
watching the
paper.
game itself is different. Yeah, watching the game on watching the game is a lot different than just looking at those stats. Numbers are numbers. I get it, but it all depends how you get those numbers too. So it makes sense. It makes sense that just Bills. Excuse me. It doesn't make sense that they have to that Mills had to go through like that did all that stuff. Like he just stood there at times. He panicked. So now that that's on film, now you know that he's not good against under pressure. Like he's
That's right.
really
It's
not.
not.
He's not. He panics, does bad throws. Like there was a point I think he was was he throwing to Burkhead at the it was throwing to Burkhead like to catch it and it just like fell. And then one of them must have Conley as well and he couldn't catch it like because it was just such bad throws. So at the end of the day, man, this is not. Now more than ever, I'm definitely convinced he's not the guy. He's not going to be the guy unless somehow throughout the rest of this season he just starts balling out, which I highly, highly doubt.
No. Yeah, well, the Colts defense missing their best pass rusher, and then again, you have Brandon Cooks, one of the most underrated receivers in the league. Basically, anything that wasn't the Cooks, you were just hoping that the receiver caught it because it was short, it was over their head, it was towards their ankles. They want to brag about his accuracy, like it's accurate when it's
Right.
a check down, but anything intermediate or long, you're just hoping for a lucky break. And honestly, like besides that pass interference and that one lucky break where Brevin Jordan caught the ball and the defender just barely missed the interception. Look, it's just not. It's the offense is ugly right now. It's going to be a long season. Like unless they have breakdowns from the defense where they miss the pick or it's a tip drill or it's just a guy falls on his feet and the guy gets the ball. There's not going to be a lot of explosive plays in this offense. It's all going to be checkdowns, Burkhead running the ball, which is I need someone in that staff to explain to me why Burkhead is carrying the ball 72% of the time. I want a honest explanation because there's no reason Rex Burkhead should be, having the same usage as Jonathan Taylor. There's zero reason why on this planet. Why?
I saw a little bit of Pierce, and he just needs to keep being fed. Honestly, you can't just keep cutting the load on him. You want him to be an all-out player. You need to give him the ball. You need to feed the kid. You need to feed him.
Yes.
I'm not a big fan of same thing like you. Yes, the Rex Burkhead gave us some minutes. Of course he did, but he shouldn't be the workhorse, like you said. Give it to Pierce. Yes, were there times where Pierce he was getting like 3 yards? Of course he was. But guess what? You keep it going. You keep it going. He's a rookie. You keep it going because if you're going to have Mills do a bunch of those check down plays, you need a running back that's going to get you yards because obviously, again, he's going to become one dimensional and they're going to catch up to those check downs. And they were. The Colts defense were catching up to those checkdowns. There was times when did Mills get intercepted? Didn't he get intercepted towards the end?
No, he fumbled it. The first time he got sacked, he fumbled it in the red zone, basically.
Red zone, that's what it was. Yeah. So, it just to me, it just
and that play is what got them back into the game because we were winning by double digits, and then he got sacked and fumbled it, and then they scored. Jonathan Taylor got his first touchdown, and that got them into the game. Then they tied it, and the tie. Look, this isn't football. This is American football. Like we don't go for ties. That nothing angers me more than playing for the tie. Like you had a chance to win, but you snatched a tie from the jaws of victory. Like why? Just why?
It's very disappointing. Yeah, I mean, you and I, we watch soccer all the time, so we're used to the ties, and even then we expect ties in soccer, and football is like, come on, man, you can't really do that. it's
less
like
game, much less game.
Yeah.
So less game, higher stakes. Like, come on.
Yeah, it's higher stakes. So yeah, I totally understand. It's not. It's definitely something that it is very disappointing that you played for that tie today. Is it a loss? Of course not, but it's also not a win. So
yeah,
it is disappointing, to be honest with you. Honestly, another reason why the Texans did put up as many points as they did, and you may or may not agree with me on this one, but it's also because if you were looking at the game, the Colts ended up shooting themselves in the foot several times. Sorry if you hear
Oh,
my
they
dogs
did.
in the background. They did.
Penalties,
The penalties,
penalties,
the
penalties, and
Matt Ryan also like ended up
turnovers.
not, yeah, turnovers too. Matt Ryan, I'll be honest with you, I don't, as far as for the Colts go, definitely Matt Ryan is not the guy either. So and don't get me wrong, I respect Matt Ryan. He did great when he was with the Falcons, but he's not the guy anymore, you know. And so to be honest with you, I think he's just like Mills right now. He's just the guy until the new guy comes in.
For next year.
For next year, and to be honest with you, the way things are looking, if the Texans, you know, they got lucky a lot because of those penalties as well. To be honest, that defense. I will say this again. Like I said, the defense was great. I had no problems with the defense. I had mentioned before that towards the fourth quarter, I said on Twitter, I was like, you know what? As the Texans are fine on this is before Davis Mills's debacle, and so it was what the Texans need to do now on in the fourth quarter. They just need to run the clock. Basically, what they said their strategy was supposed to be: run the clock, uh, and make sure that that defense gets their break. Because you and I have seen this team long enough to understand what it's like to have a really good defense and then lose the game because the offense can't put up their fair share and they wear out that defense. We've seen it several times. We saw it with Matt Schaub. We saw it with
David Carr.
David Carr. We saw it with Brian Hoyer. We saw it with Mallet. We've seen it. It's almost
Brian
like a
Hoyer,
never never ending story. When we had a great defense, we had a terrible quarterback, and so it always ended up the same way. It ended up being we had a great defense. They balled out. They showed up, but then the offense just couldn't hang and wore out the defense. And guess what? We lose the games. Let's flash forward over here to September 11th, 2022. Guess what happened? The same thing. Awful defense, awful offense, great defense. In the time that it mattered and during crunch time when the offense is supposed to be at their best, even at the fourth quarter after doing all that, guess what?
Tired.
They're tired. The defense got tired because the offense couldn't hang. And again, right before as soon as I tweeted that my tweet about what the Texans needed to do in the fourth quarter was just to keep running the ball, no mistakes. Guess what? Davis Mills gets sacked, and we start giving the momentum back to the Colts.
Yep.
It's because you and I have seen this story before. It's not new to us. We know what's going to happen almost because it's the same never-ending story. It's ridiculous, to be honest with you. It's so ridiculous that even you and I, who are just fans here, guess what? We still know what's going to happen, and we predict it correctly. That's how bad it is.
Yep, said it perfectly. And I called it too. Like this offense is going to ruin the game, and they did. And something I brought up also, like off air, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts also tank. Like they tanked for Andrew Luck, and that turned their organization around. So if they tank to get either CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, I would be surprised. And knowing the Texans, they're going to mess it up. And you know what? We'll win 5 games, be in the top 5, miss out on all the top QB prospects, and we'll stick with the long neck Kirk Cousins and be middle or bottom dwellers because people are still going to show up regardless of how we do.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it is. It was a disappointing game. I mean, you could always say that they were close. They were, but they had a big lead. It's a heartbreaker.
They blew a big lead, and they should have won in overtime.
They should have won it. They should have won it. They really should have. I will say this, though. There was that particular save by Stingley that I really enjoyed, though. You saw that? It was supposed to be a touchdown.
Stingley is good. He's the real deal.
Petrie did great, too. I know he had that helmet-to-helmet contact, but, it happens.
pass breakup
I
in the end zone. I mean, Stingley's a real deal. I'm real hope for him and Petro. Like they've really impressed me.
and,
Everybody else, man.
yeah, I hope that next week when they go against the Broncos, they show a little bit more of like they keep the running game going. I know it's going to be against Russell Wilson. It's going to be against Russell Wilson. So I'm just hoping that I know the defense will show up. That's a given. The defense will show up. And that's it. Tomorrow they go against Seattle in Monday Night
Russell
Football. So
Wilson's
that should be
homecoming. Oh man, Russell Wilson is gonna have
yeah.
the game of his
Russell
life
Wilson.
tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow's gonna be the game to watch for
It is
sure
the
in Monday
Russell
Night
Wilson
Football.
revenge tour right now.
It really
You
is.
guys doubted me. Let me show you why I got paid all this money. This season is his revenge tour.
Exactly. So
It's gonna be a week long battle. Russell Wilson. Yeah, he's gonna ball out tomorrow. He's gonna ball out next week, like, especially against our team because defenses they're gonna be tired because that offense is doing nothing against that defense. It's next week's gonna be ugly. It is gonna be very, 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 very ugly.
The problem with this, if it's going to be a recurring cycle, a recurring pattern of the defense just basically bailing out the offense every single game this season. If the offense isn't holding their own, with the exception of OJ Howard, I thought OJ Howard played amazingly today. By the way,
he was very solid. He was the lone bright spot on offense outside of Cooks.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a great idea. I think Nico Collins had like what 1 or 2 catches. He was pretty good out there too today. Those catches
he
that he
was
had.
okay, but I mean, honestly, like
not what I expected.
Cooks, not a whole lot. I just don't understand why they stopped beating Pierce. Like he was getting his against the Colts. Like keep beating him out. Like he's like Marshawn Lynch. Just keep beating him. He's gonna wear that defense out. Like. He's powerful.
Give him time.
He's going to wear them out.
Runner. Yeah, definitely. You need to keep that consistency going. Yeah, of course. You do. Rex Burkhead, I would keep him more of like a hey, let me give Pierce a break kind of a guy. You know, he's going to be your back that give him a break, going in for a couple plays, whatever. But again, you can't if you're going to have these checkdowns work. If you're going to try to make these checkdowns work, you need a consistent running back, and that's the reason why you got Pierce to begin with. So feed him.
Or guys can break tackles, create wiggle room, juke defenders. Burkett's not doing that. He's just there to hopefully the guy misses him, but he's not he's not juking anybody. He's not breaking tackles. He
doesn't have the elusiveness. Yeah, he doesn't have the elusiveness that Pierce should have. So, if you want to make your guy better, I'd say you keep feeding the ball to Pierce. It doesn't matter if you're missing out a few yards here and there. You got to keep feeding them the ball.
Again, Pierce is the future. Like, come on, like
it's the future. That's your future.
Give the kid experience. Let him, for better or worse, give him experience. Let him, get his losses, lose a couple of yards. But you know what? He's learning because, again, this kid's the future. Like, Burkhead is, damn near 30 years old. That's, again, Leo DiCaprio is not looking at Burkhead right now. He's looking at Pierce. So give the guy that Leo DiCaprio is looking at, not the one he's ignoring.
Yeah. I mean, it's as weird. I mean, if you're not going to use him, why claim him as your RB1? Like that's what I don't understand. You were like, oh
yeah, he's RB1, but he got 18% of the carries. Like, come on.
Yeah. So and I get that you have to quote unquote adjust to that, but at the same time, you need to balance that correctly. If you want to balance that to give Pierce what he needs to do, but you got to give him the tools to be successful also. So that's my opinion. I think next week against the Broncos, you start him, you let him go at it. Obviously, give him his breaks, but I wouldn't give Burkhead start over him. Basically, that's what they did today.
We say that, but again, next week Burkhead, quote unquote workhorse. I'm like,
yeah,
you just know it's coming. I want to know who does he have blackmail on? Because there's got to be more to this story. Like, come on, like how is this man carrying the ball almost 80% of the time? Like, it's not elusive, it's not fast, not powerful. Like, how is he getting on the carries? he has to have something on somebody because this is ridiculous. Like,
Just see Arian
training
Foster's tweet.
training camp, preseason.
Yeah.
Pierce clearly night and day better
one.
than any running back on the roster. Like
Did
bro,
you,
what are y'all doing?
Did you see Arian Foster's tweet after the game
I did.
about the tie?
I did. I'm like,
hilarious. He's like, you don't play that hard to just tie the game. Yep. Yeah. It was hilarious.
I love Arian Foster. He's a great follow on Twitter, man. Like he was a great running back to follow on his professional career on Twitter. He's equally as good just to follow. Like, man, he's an awesome human being, man. I love Arian Foster.
He said, play until someone wins. Ties are the worst thing in sports. That's hilarious.
They really are. Like, come on, there's no ties in real life. Someone wins or someone loses. There's no tie.
Yeah.
It's like in Star Wars. There's no try. Either you do or you don't.
Yeah. It's you do, you don't. Exactly. So we'll see how it goes next week against the Broncos. I'm still picturing a loss there for me. What about you?
Oh, it's gonna be a blowout. Russell Wilson is he's on a revenge tour. That man is, he's out to prove something.
Yeah, exactly. All right, boys and girls. Well, it's about that time. We just had a few minutes here in this podcast to basically unleash our frustrations about today's game. Again, congrats to the Astros for beating the Angels in this particular series. It was a pretty good series, except for like yesterday's game. That was terrible. However,
we don't speak about that game.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that game. So I think tomorrow, I don't know if it's tomorrow, but when they go the next particular series, I know the pattern is they score more than 10, and then they start not scoring again. So we'll see how it goes for the Astros. All right. Well, Rios, thanks for joining me today. Hopefully, we'll start recording. We'll record again another episode on Wednesday, our typical Wednesdays, and then 30 minutes on Sunday just to recap the Texans and possibly the Astros games. All right.
And talk on Davis Mills because Bryce Young 2023. I'm shooting my shot now. Yeah. Don't mess this up. Nick Casario, listening, don't mess this up, bro.
Yeah.
Bryce Young.
All right, y'all. Bryce Young. All right, y'all. Have a good weekend. See you later on this week. Peace. Yeah, we don't know how to do it. All right. Bye.